let's talk a little bit more about, you know, these three symbols we've learned, connectives in the jargon of logic, which is a little bit weird jargon when you think about it, right? Because the V and the and, little ampersand, connect letters. The not doesn't really, I don't know why they call it a connective too. You'll see logicians who try to come up with weird explanations for this, but I don't know. It's just the jargon they use, though, right? But let's talk a little bit more about our little symbols and how they relate to ordinary English. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice is that you have to be careful about how you use this little, you know, tilde symbol. You have to be careful about nots and negation generally, right? For instance, if I gave you this sentence, I don't know, you don't know who Edna is, but if I gave you this sentence and I said, well, Edna is not brilliant, how would you translate it? It might be that I mean something like, and for the purposes of this class, you should translate it this way, Edna is brilliant. When I say she's not brilliant, what I mean is it is not the case that she is brilliant, right? Now note, when I translate it this way, you couldn't infer from this that she's stupid, right? Or that I think she's stupid, or that this statement says this. I might think that, but all that this is saying is that she's not brilliant. She could be pretty bright, but not brilliant. She could be completely mediocre in her intelligence, or she could be flat dumb. All of those are consistent with this. You can't read into it from the negation. All it's saying, it's ruling out one possibility, that she's brilliant. There are a lot of other possibilities out there besides she's stupid. And in this class, this will be the best translation. But in real life, I might very well mean something like Edna's an idiot, in which case, we'd have E equals Edna's an idiot and just E, right? A lot of this would go on the tone of voice I said it in, who Edna is, what you think I think about her, so on and so forth, right? When you're translating a little written passage in a logic class, or have a written passage on something like a test in here, or the LSATs, or whatever in front of you, you don't have that information, so you want to be literal. In real life, though, it might be more complicated. It might also just be ambiguous. It might not be clear whether I'm just saying, well, she's not brilliant, or I'm saying something stronger and more determinate, like, oh, she's a flat moron, right? Who knows? Purposes of this class, purposes of deductive logic generally, be very, very literal. If you see a she's not brilliant in this class, it means it is not the case that she's brilliant. That is the only possibility I'm ruling out. I'm not making the stronger claim. Another point here. When you break a sentence down into propositions, each proposition should have its own meaning, and you shouldn't lose any meaning when you break it down. Sometimes sentences that look like they use an ampersand that have an and in them might actually be one proposition, because you can't do that. Bob got drunk at work and was fired. You might say, well, B equals Bob got drunk, F equals he was fired, B ampersand A. Well, but it seems like that means a completely different thing from he got fired and then got drunk at work, right? In the one, we're implying he got fired for being drunk at work, and the other, we're implying he got fired and as he was finishing out the day just decided he might as well hit the bottle, right? When we're using the ampersand, it does not matter which order the letters are in, right? And With propositions, like the ones we've been looking at, that seems fine, right? Jimmy Carter was president of the U.S. and governor of Georgia. Seems like it means exactly the same thing as Jimmy Carter was governor of Georgia and president of the U.S. We're just, you know, for whatever reason, we're putting them in a different order. He got drunk at work and was fired. Seems like it's different than he got fired and then got drunk at work. Who knows, right? Be careful with this. You know, we might wonder whether we can really symbolize these using the and, because we might think information's being lost that shouldn't be lost, that might affect the truth value, right? If I say he got drunk at work and was fired, and then you later find out, well, he didn't start drinking until after he was fired, you might say, well, that's not strictly true. This is what Smith is getting at. This is a real issue, you know, with and statements. I'm not going to give you anything to symbolize that's tricky in this way. Just keep in mind that this issue is out there. Now, symbolic logic, another thing I want to make clear, if it's not clear already, it has a very precise grammar. And you need to follow this grammar. Now, this seems like it should be one of those things that almost goes without saying, but I have students who have real trouble with this, so I just want to say something to start with. The V symbol and the ampersand symbol, or the upside down V, the wedge symbol if you're using that instead, they must go between letters or larger formulas. A or B, A and B correct. These little weird things, wedge AB and or not. I would probably know what you meant if you did this. It's just not good grammar, and in other cases, doing this sort of thing will make it really unclear what you mean. The little tilde or not symbol must always go in front of letters or formulas. Not A and B, not A or B, not A or B, A and not B, right? Those are all grammatical. A tilde, and B are not. Another thing, whenever you have more than one letter, for our class, and I think Smith is right about this, I think this does head off some possible issues. Some people will say whenever you have more than two letters, you need parentheses. In our class and in our book, whenever you have more than one, you're going to need parentheses. Well, why is that? Well, parentheses make the meaning clear. If you don't have them, the meaning starts to get vague. With parentheses, read everything that's in them first. You know, you'll start hooking up more than one proposition, or sorry, more than two. Think about this. Anna made an A in class A, B, Bob made an A in class B, C, Carol made an A in class. Well, what does A ampersand B V C mean? Does it mean Anna and Bob both made A's, or Carol did? In that case, the sentence is true if either Carol made an A or Bob and Anna both did. Or does it mean Anna made an A and either Bob or Carol did as well? These sentences mean different things. If you don't use parentheses, it is ambiguous, and much of the point of using symbols is to avoid ambiguity, to be precise. It's also just not clear. They have entirely different truth conditions, so you know, if you start making arguments using these, you will not be able to tell whether it's valid or not. Parentheses will clear it up. Parentheses A and B or C means Anna and Bob made A's in the class, or Carol did. We read what's in the parentheses first. A and B or C means Anna made an A in the class, and Bob or Carol did as well, right? Also, things can get tricky when we combine the little tilde and expressions in parentheses. tilde A ampersand B, tilde A ampersand B, and tilde A ampersand tilde B all mean different things. Not A and B means Anna didn't make an A in the class and Bob did. This is only true if she made a class an A, if she did not make an A and he did. Not A and B means it is not true that both Anna and Bob made A's in the class. This could be true if she made an A and he didn't. It could be true if he made an A and she didn't. It could be true if they both failed, right? That's a lot different than this one, which is only true if she made an A, if she did not make an A and he did. Not A and not B means it is not true that she made an A in a class, and it's also not true that he did, right? This itself is true in only one very precise circumstance, when they both did not make A's. One final thing to keep in mind is in real life, an English sentence might be vague between two translations. If you see this, I think all you can do is note that it's vague, give both translations, and then argue for one and use that one maybe. Or maybe just note that it's vague, right? This is from Smith's book. Either Jack took Jill to the party or he took Joe and he had some fun. Jack took Jill. I, he took Joe. O, F, he had some fun, right? Which of these combinations represents the English sentence? I don't know. You know, in the first one, either he took Jill or Joe, and in either case he had fun. Or does it mean he took Jill? Or he took Joe and had fun? Or are we even implying something stronger? Either he took Jill and didn't have fun, or he took Joe and did. I don't know. I think you could argue for any of these translations. 3 is a bit more of a stretch than 1 or 2, but it's not out there, right? In 1 or 2, I think it's perfectly ambiguous between the two. When you're doing English, when you're writing in English, you might want to be more precise. A comma would clear this up, right? Either Jack took Jill to the party, comma, or he took Joe and had some fun. Would be very clear that we meant number 2 here. And either Jack took Jill to the party or he took Joe, comma, and had some fun. Would be clear that we meant number 1, right? Sometimes writing is just bad. Sometimes speaking is not clear. Even laws and even parts of the Constitution, I hope this does not offend your sensibilities, will turn out to be unclear. You can translate them different ways. We might actually do some exercises doing that. Language just isn't always precise. And I will say, one of the things we might learn from translating or trying to translate a sentence is that it's just vague, that its logical meaning isn't clear, and that it might admit of 1 or 2 or maybe even, 2 or more possible logical interpretations. And that might be mildly frustrating, but it's a good thing to know if a sentence isn't clear, especially if it's in, say, the law or regulations, like even at work or something, right? All right. So hopefully you get an idea of just the basics of what we're doing translating these. Trust me, very soon we will start using these for the bigger idea, getting back to our determining validity, determining what aren't good arguments.